Hello, everyone. Karen Glasser here, and welcome to the Author Spotlight interviews with best selling authors from all around the world. Today's show is sponsored by the Online Authors Office, a platform for aspiring writers who seek that quantum leap to marketing their books. So make sure you say hi in the comments and tell us where you are tuning in from. I'm very excited about our guest today. I am welcoming creator and author of Glowing Up, Phyllis Ansusinha, to the show. A fitness leader in the industry for nearly 4 decades, Phyllis has worked with clients in both group and on one-on-one settings. A contributee to many magazines and newspapers throughout the years, she's covered issues from nutrition, women's health, to fitness, and aging. Glowing Up is her debut novel, and I know that she's looking forward to releasing a whole bunch of other books in the future. So without further ado, welcome to the show. Hi, Phyllis.
Hello, good morning from Bangkok. Thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to be here.
I am delighted to have you on the show. And we're just going to start with your name because we actually were laughing about this. I was laughing beforehand. How do you say your name, Ansusinha? So I got it down. Where's the name from?
You did beautifully, by the way.
Thank you.
So the last name is Thai, and I know I don't look an inch or ounce of Thai, but my husband is Thai, and I opted to take on his last name. I thought it was a cool name.
It is.
Yes, and the interesting thing about his last name, or about Thai last names in general, is that not much over 100 years ago, Thai people did not have last names.
Interesting.
Isn't that? And of course, they had a lot of similar first names, so I'm sure it got very confusing as to who was who after a while. And so the king decided that he would start to grant last names to people. And at first, it was only to nobility and to people that were highly, highly regarded in his country or in his city. And so my last name is one of the very first last names that were granted in Thailand, and it means House of the Noble Lion.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
so everybody drinks Thai beer and they're familiar with Singha or Sing beer.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually a derivative of the last name, which means lion.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm glad I was able to say the name. I was going to take out the easy way and just do your middle last name that you had from before, but I'm really glad that I did it. Thank you for sharing that. You learn
So
something every day. So, I'm just going to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. How did you come to today?
how did I come to today? I actually grew up in a very, very small rural town in northern Minnesota. So for those that might be listening outside of the USA, that's in the very middle upper part of the US. It's very
Mhm.
cold there. And I'm one of actually 11 children.
Oh,
My
God
mother
bless you. God bless your mom.
Yeah, and I'm kind of right smack in the middle. Actually, I'm at the end of the first part of the family and the beginning of the second part of the
Oh.
family. So there's like a little gap in there. And I was just kind of a lost, I guess. I was very lost in this big family. I was premature.
Mm.
So physically, I was very slow in developing, and so bashful, so shy that my grandparents would actually have to pay me to speak to them.
Well, maybe that's why you did it because it was a great job.
I didn't realize it then, but now,
There you go.
yeah. So it bothered me growing up, going to school and feeling so shy and not having confidence and not being strong, being very weak. Even though I was a preemie, I was very gangly,
Hmm.
and tall and thin at the time, and not so much anymore. But I didn't have strength, and so when it came to sports, I really struggled. I could run, and I could do hurdles and different things with track and field that I was more successful at. But when it came to baseball, basketball, lift anything, I really struggled. And I knew, even though that was way back in the 60s and 70s, I knew that I needed to have strength for some reason. And it was my ninth grade year. I signed up for my gym class was going to be weightlifting 101, and I was so excited. The equipment was quite archaic. I went into the weightlifting room, and the coach, he was the football coach slash gym teacher, laughed at me. And he said, "You can drop this class right now because you're not going to be able to."
Ooh, those are fighting words.
And all the guys in the class started laughing as well. And and you know how it can be. I got a lot of razzing, and being not very confident, I went out beet red, with my tail between my legs, tears running down my face, and I changed the class. But I never forgot that. And I thought, someday I am going to be lifting weights and I'm going to show Mr. You know who a thing or two. And so as soon as I had completed high school and I moved to a little bit bigger city, which was the one of the bigger cities in the northern part of Minnesota, and there was a YMCA, and an instructor had invited me in to teach, or not to teach, to take her
Right.
class, her aerobics class. And I eventually wandered into the weight room, which was down in the basement, and it smelled like a wrestling room, if you remember that from high school.
Yeah.
It was not pleasant. And again, very archaic equipment. But I was bound and determined I was going to figure out how to do this. And one of my friends, her husband was a former bodybuilder, and she's like, "I know a few things. We're going to go in after hours, and I'm going to show you, a couple things." Well, that lasted maybe 3 exercises, and then she said, "Hey, it's happy hour down the road." And after about 2, 3 times, I thought, okay, I'm not going to learn to lift weights if we keep going to happy hour and having a beer. and
Right.
and so then went into the weight room and was working on my own. And at first, the guys in there did everything they could to get rid of me. I think they thought I was there to, find a boyfriend or something. And I just stuck with it. And a gal happened to be there that was a bodybuilder, and she's like, "Let me help you." And eventually, they accepted me, and that was something that one of the things that really changed my life right then and there.
I love that. I love that. So you got into the fitness world, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I do want to talk about really what you're here for, and that is your book. How long have you been writing? I know this is your first book, but how long has it taken for that first book to get to be published?
I've been writing little stories as a child, right? I would create stories, and I would tell stories to my younger siblings and my children. And then I started being asked to write articles, fitness articles for different magazines, local magazines in Wisconsin. At that time, I was living in Wisconsin, and then moving to Bangkok, Thailand. There's some different expat magazines, and they were like, could you write some articles about women's health? Could you write some articles about fitness? And I was so happy to do so because I
Right.
love to write. And then at 50, already 10 years ago or more, I wasn't here then at that point in time, but I had a checklist of things that I wanted to do in the second half of my life. And writing was one of them, to write my first book. And finally, after moving to Bangkok and finding that my whole life was a little bit upside down, I couldn't
Right.
um, very easily anyway. It's very difficult to work here as a foreigner in Thailand. And so I thought, okay, this is a good time for me to actually start to write. And I didn't know what to write. What am I going to write? Do I do some fiction? What do I do? And I thought, well, the easiest thing for me to start with would be health and wellness, because that's been my life for the last 40 years.
Would you say that was your inspiration then? The fact that that had been your life and it was a natural, go to the next step and write a book on this?
Yes, yes, that was my inspiration in good part. The other part of it was over the years working with hundreds of clients, because I was the fitness director at the gym. So a lot of people always came to my desk first before they went into the gym or off to work with another personal trainer. And And I had people just crumble in front of me, and their
Mm.
confidence wasn't there. They hated themselves. They beat up on themselves. And I thought, you know what? That was me a long time ago. And with fitness and changing my whole approach on my life with activity and wellness, I was able to gain a lot of confidence. And
Wow.
can I do this for others? And so a lot of the book tells not only my story about evolving as this shy, bashful girl into a woman up in front of on a stage teaching people, to also being able to take that and nurture and help others grow and lift them up along the way with you. We don't want to go alone, right?
Right. If you're just tuning in right now, we are talking to Phyllis about her new book that is like out any day now, kind of thing, and it's called Glowing Up. Where does the name come from?
I think that I thought real hard about that as far as a title. It took me some time, and then I felt like I personally glowed from
Hmm.
what I have gained from the inside out, and then of course growing up shy and having to grow up using my health and fitness as a way for me, as a stepping stone for me to gain confidence. And so then that's where I came up with growing up.
So, what kind of topics are people going to read in this book? What are you covering?
I'm covering, besides my own personal story, I'm covering stories of some of my clients that have had amazing transformations, losing more than 100 pounds.
Wow.
So I've had I can name three clients that have lost over 100 pounds, which is a really difficult thing to do. Um, so it's talking about them. It's talking about those clients that came to me. Maybe they had just had a stroke, heart attacks, and they're using a walker. They can't get around very well. So the stories about their life and how we were able to take health and nutrition and exercise and get them from the wheelchair, from the walker, and then actually on fitness equipment and moving weights around and finding their own vitality.
That must make you feel so fulfilled, though, being able to help others like this.
It is so fulfilling. It's one of the most, besides being a mother, it's like one of the most fulfilling things in my life. And I always wondered what I wanted to be when I grew up, and when I was growing up. And the gym in the Midwest, it just wasn't a career at that point in time as a young adult. And I dabbled in different things. I was in law enforcement for a while, and
Wow.
uh, so and I just didn't feel like that was me. And then I
Right.
realized, as I started teaching fitness classes and connecting with people, and then started as a personal trainer, that I could make a full time career out of this, and I love it.
How
So
exciting. For those of you who are wondering how you can go pre order the book, you can do that right now by going to glowingup.me. Just wanted to throw that in there. Um, I know that you've had some exciting things happen since this book came about. Tell us a little bit about it.
oh yes, lots of exciting things. We have Thailand has been in a very strict lockdown,
Hmm.
and we've not really been able to travel. We knew that if we decided to go to the US or to the UK to visit our children that are scattered abroad, that we could be stuck abroad, especially that first year. And so a lot of my friends were stuck abroad for almost a year before they could get back into Thailand.
That's crazy.
And we knew we couldn't do that with my husband's work and with my dog, who is like, he's so attached to me that it would be really devastating. It's hard enough on him when I leave for a short time. But I finally just returned from a trip to Scotland to spend almost 2 weeks with my sons.
Oh, how fun and how wonderful.
It was absolutely amazing, and they had planned every single day for me, very active days. And I thought, wow, if I was not working out, if I was not in shape, I would not be able to keep up with them because we were climbing mountains and hills and just on
Wow.
every day.
How wonderful. How wonderful. It's nice when you finally can get back out. I know. And especially seeing your kids. And I know what it was like for me. And we all live in the States. So it's not even like you where we would get stuck somewhere else. But here we were locked down too, and we weren't flying and doing anything. So I'm so thrilled for you that you had an opportunity to visit. Why do you do what you do? I know that fitness changed your life, but why do you do this?
That's a really good question because a lot of people feel like exercise hurts. It's not enjoyable.
Hmm.
Um, for me, it's very, very enjoyable. Yes, sometimes it hurts. So being active gives me energy. It gives me a glow. It helps me stay or keep up with my sons. Obviously, that was
Right.
really important to me. But to know that I can give that gift to other people, and if they're recovering from a heart attack and they maybe only have one hope, and the doctors have said you've got to turn your life around. That's really
Yeah.
important to me. And then I recently added, during lockdown, I added a lot of courses, that I did online.
Right.
And so I recently did a life and health coaching course, which I will be taking my exam for, because I realized that physically I can't continue over the next 10 years. I anticipate there's going to be certain things that my body's just not going to be
Right.
able to do
Right.
as it used to do. But I can still help people in other ways, and I can still guide them with their life and show them, different ways that they can improve their lifestyle or just find happiness in life.
One of the things that I read about you is that you were insecure and you were shy.
Yes.
I find that hard to believe right now, but was it part of what you were doing, the fitness and all the other things? Is that helped you get out of that? Because clearly you're not shy at this point and it doesn't look like you're insecure. So, did this help getting you out of your comfort zone?
It absolutely did. I had moved to that new community, and I had met this fitness instructor on the beach, actually, and she was very vibrant and bubbly. And she's like, "Hey, come to my class." And my sister was like, "That's so and so," and she, it was like they were like famous, in the
Right.
who taught fitness. And yeah, so I went to her first class, and I had like a sweatshirt on to here, and I had sweatpants. I was just covered head to toe. I was so scared, and I didn't
Wow.
want to know anything. And I had two left feet, but I kept coming back because it seemed to be so much fun, and it was giving me something internally that just woke me up. And I thought, I really this dancing. Not that I never danced before, but usually you're dancing at a barn and you're being bothered by people, or it involves alcohol.
Right.
And I can have a fun time, and I don't need to be hassled by anybody or drink anything. And so then, probably maybe a month into the class, the instructor, she said to me, you should teach class. I was like,
Wow.
I was like, no, no, no. And she said, and you should buy a leotard because that's what we wore back then. You should buy a leotard and show off that amazing body of yours. And
Like Jane Fonda. You could be a Jane Fonda, right?
yes.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So I bought a leotard that went up to here and had long sleeves. And eventually she got me to take the pants off, and go without sleeves. And then it was like unleash the lion. So
Well, there
unleash.
you go. The lion, your
Yes,
namesake. There you go. There you go.
yes,
You have said that self-image and confidence can hold you back from losing weight or even gaining weight.
yes.
Why do you say that?
I say that because of our self-talk. So one of the things I found, and one of the things that I work with right away when I start working with clients, is we start to change the language in their head and the language, that they're speaking to themselves
Hmm.
about themselves. And I always say, would you talk to your best friend like this? Would you insult them? the way that you're insulting yourself, your body's not going to respond to you
Right.
when you continue to abuse it,
Right.
even though you might be verbally, or you might be abusing it with food, which is quite often, but then you're verbally abusing it. So we start to change the talk first. And little meditation or mantras that I have them start with, so that they start to change their language and be kinder to themselves. And then once you're nicer to yourself, um, usually you'll start to see a change physically as well. And you're not beating yourself up, so you're not grabbing that tub of ice cream out of the freezer, or the chocolates or whatever might be that is your thing. And so then we can start to really get into the deep work and make the changes in life.
Well, you even go as far as say it helps you to achieve your goals in life. From having, you can have healthy and happy relationships with your partners and friends, as well as careers. So this is the whole gamut. It's not just fitness, but it's fitness for the whole self.
Exactly, exactly. I once had, I was teaching a group training class, and it was becoming very successful. Rather than one-on-one personal training, it was small group training. And my owner of the gym said, "Hey, let's put a brochure together and promote our group training as well. Can you get a testimonial?" So I asked a few of the ladies that had, they dropped about 40 pounds and they were looking pretty good. And I said, "Hey, would you mind writing a testimonial that we could put on the brochure?" And the one gal, she said, "I'll think about it and let me talk to you tomorrow." And so she went home. That next morning, I had a phone call from her husband, and I thought, "Oh, oh."
Uh-oh.
It was an interesting phone call. And I talk about this. He said, "I understand you want a testimonial." He's like, "I'm pretty sure that you can't put this in your brochure." But he said, "I want to thank you, because my wife has always had to have clothes on and the lights off when we want to be intimate." And he said, "Now she walks around without her clothes and the lights on, and you had a big change in our life, and I want to thank you for that."
Wow. Wow. And did you put that on the book? In the book?
I put it in the book, not on the brochure.
Not the brochure, but in the book. So you
Yes.
talk about pillars in the fitness industry. What is a pillar and how many are there?
Okay. Well, depending on who you're speaking to, there's pillars, or there's different variants that you need to have to put a wellness program or your health program together.
Mhm.
And I address probably more than most people, because I do like to put the mind body together with it. So
Mhm.
your first pillar that you want to address, probably now I would change my talk, and I would normally would say nutrition, but now I would say it's your
Right.
self-talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's happening in your mind. So that's your first pillar. Your second pillar then is we address nutrition. So we start to look at, and sometimes people are afraid because they're going to have to really change their diet. And so
Right.
typically what I like to do is just say, let's look at what you're eating now. Because if I give you a menu and it's totally different than what you're used to eating, you're probably not gonna follow it. You're gonna be
Right.
missing your old food. It's too much of a shock. So we look at what they've been eating and we just start to make little tweaks. We I get them looking at healthier options and actually adjusting to something healthier. Some of my clients, they only eat vegetables if it's loaded with cheese and all kinds of things. So
And it loses the point there, right?
yeah, exactly. So we start to learn to appreciate the taste of food as it is in its own natural state, and that can be a really really long process. So
I can
maybe
imagine.
maybe we just sprinkle a little cheese on to begin with, and
Right.
eventually we take the cheese off, and we find other healthier ways to prepare it. So we look at the nutrition, and then we look at cardiovascular training.
Hmm.
Um, because even though you're going to hear a lot of controversy right now, I think in the fitness industry, you're going to hear a lot of people say, "Oh, you don't need cardio. You just need strength training." I still feel it's really important for the heart and the lungs and the vascular system to really get your blood pumping, your heart pumping a little bit. And if we look at that as the most important benefit, that's
That's a
that's.
huge benefit. That's a huge benefit.
But the side effect is you burn some calories, when that's
Right.
happening. So
I've
that's
always thought it's an all over kind of exercise for your body. I walk. I actually walk and I power walk. I do, 3 miles a day and we do it really, really fast. And I get my, my blood pressure up, or it's my heart rate up, rather, not my blood pressure, my
yes,
heart rate, and all of that. And it makes me feel like I'm in good shape by
yeah, and you
doing
are in shape. You look phenomenal.
that. Oh, well,
So
thanks. And all I do is walk. Now I used to lift weights.
okay, okay,
I used to do, power lifting and the whole thing. And my trainer used to say, for a 50-year-old, you're pretty good. And he says, not just for a 50-year-old, I should get some of my 30-year-olds. So I think the message is, it doesn't matter how old you are, right?
that's right. That's right. My first client was 79.
There you
So
go.
yeah,
There you go. So I know there's other pillars, but I want, you don't have to do all the pillars at one time. You say choose one pillar to start with.
yes. When I introduce everything that they've got to change in their life, it's
Right.
like, whoa, I can't do all that. So we pick one thing that they feel that they're going to be most successful at, and we start with that. Start with that, and then you start to feel good. Like maybe it is your nutrition,
Hmm.
and you're starting to see that you've dropped a couple pounds. Your pants are fitting better. Your
Right.
maybe a little bit of muscle definition is showing, and then you get inspired, and you're like, okay, what's next?
Right.
And so then we introduce the next thing. Is it going to be is it going to be strength training? Is it going to be cardiovascular training? So we just take it a little at a time. I have some people that are raring and ready to go, and they do everything and
Right.
stick with it. But honestly, most people will fall off the wagon somewhere along the way. You
And
hit the
that's
wall.
okay. Yeah, and that's why you say pick one. Don't. It's the same thing when you say don't change a diet, everything all at once. It's you
Right.
add things, right? So I think it's probably similar to that. I like to ask all my authors
Yes.
if they ever get writer's block, because I always get really interesting answers. So, Phyllis, have you ever had writer's block? Is that something that happens with you?
It does, absolutely. Especially I think when the pressure is on, your publishers and your editors are going, okay, what's next? We're ready for the next chapter. And you're like, okay, what do I want to say from here?
Right.
Um, or you might have things that are really stressful happening in your life that just prevent you from letting your mind kind of flow. And I think the best thing that I found is just go ahead and start writing something. And there might be one word that will inspire you, and then you can take it from there and create, a whole chapter off from that one word.
So I know you're excited that you're going to eventually do other books. Are they going to be on the same topic of fitness and health, or are you going to branch out in a different direction?
I may do more fitness and health, but honestly, I will probably branch out in other directions. Like I said, I love fiction and mystery, and so. And my son is actually a producer, a film producer, one of the ones I went to visit in Scotland, and there's that little thought in my head that's like, what if I could write something?
A screenplay or something,
Yes,
right?
yes. I just
Well,
met a very, very well-known screenplay writer at the awards ceremony for his miniseries that he produced, and she was the writer, and it was, I just was picking her brain because I wanted to know how do you do this when. So that would be fun and exciting.
so exciting. I love that. I love that. For those of you who are tuning in and watching the show, whether it's live or on replay at another date, we are talking with Phyllis about her book that's coming out. It's not quite out. If you can't get it at Amazon right today when we're recording, but you can go and pre-order it. And I encourage everyone to go do that at glowingup.me. You can also follow Phyllis on Instagram at FitPhilly. Notice it's a PHPH. and also on Facebook at Phyllis.Hanson.Ansusinha. I said it.
Yes, you did. It just
Word
flowed.
for word, it just flowed right off, right off my lips. Any last minute thoughts, Phyllis, that you'd like to share with our audience about anything?
Yes, I would like to just, for those that are listening that maybe have either fallen into a slump with their wellness, which I think happened for a lot of people during the pandemic,
Yeah.
it's not too late. And as I mentioned, my first client I ever worked with was 79 years old. She, we did everything, and at 82, she was taking 4 exercise classes a day. Not, I wasn't encouraging that, by mind you, but I figured at 82 she could do what she wanted.
Whatever she wants.
And it's not too late to make a change with your health and with your body. So don't give up, and read the book. And I hope that there will be a workbook with it actually as well.
Oh, awesome. 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 We'll make sure to add it to the information on the show when the work
Yes,
comes out. Thank
yes.
you, Phyllis. I appreciate you getting up at a god awful hour to be on this show and to talk to us about your book. Very, very excited for you. Congratulations, and I wish you only the best as you move forward in whatever next books you do and whatever you do on your journey. You're going to stay in touch with us because we want to make sure that we know where you go with all of this.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Oh,
Thank
and
you.
we want to thank our audience. You have a choice as to where you spend your time. You chose to spend it today with Phyllis and me today, and we are eternally grateful. So go out, give somebody an awesome day, and we'll see you next time on the Author Spotlight. Goodbye,
This is
everyone.